from Southeastern Dispute Resolution Services, Executive Director Mark Stanley. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Bart. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to have you back. It's been since before the pandemic.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's probably been since 2018 or so.
It's probably a result of the pandemic that you have been so busy the last couple of years. Well, let's first find out what Southeastern Dispute Resolution Services does.
Sure. So Southeastern Dispute Resolution Service is one of the 17 mediation centers that cover the state of Michigan. We're under the umbrella of the State Court Administrator's Office and Supreme Court. We're basically, we're given the duty of creating mediation systems, implementing mediation systems for our local courts, our communities, our school districts, along with a number of other dispute resolution services and platforms that use neutral third parties to help people and businesses solve their disputes.
So if I have a neighbor who put a fence up that is a foot over on my property, I can use your services?
Yeah, that's one of the items that we do. We've done a lot of boundary disputes. You know, a lot of those, if that goes into small claims court, for instance, your only remedy is to get a restitution order if you win. But if in that kind of scenario, the property owner whose land is being encroached upon would call us to request an inquiry. We'd gather the information about the contact information and the addresses for the parties, contact the other party directly, see if they're willing to negotiate with their neighbor. If they are, then we assign a mediator. We get either a location that's convenient for both parties to meet with that mediator, or we host a session remotely over Zoom or another platform. Those are so common now. And then we negotiate. We'd look and see, you know, what the time value, man hours it would take to move that fence back, or to look at the property values and see if there's some kind of compromise that can be made. Because a lot of times, once the fence is put in, it's a lot of money to remove that, right? So there's some kind of compromise that can be made between the parties. We talk about that from both perspectives. We're not acting as judge, so the agreement would be based on the terminology and the.
You all get together, so both parties and you get together, you come to an agreement hopefully, and everybody walks away after shaking hands.
Yeah, so we'd have something in writing, an action plan for those two parties that, you know, would solve the problem in the best way possible in that unique situation.
So we hear the word mediation used a lot in labor, contract negotiations. Someone will say, well, we've got to get this decided by a mediator. That's you.
Yeah, I mean, we can be used for labor negotiations. We've done in the long past. So I've been with the agency. This is my 19th season, so to speak, if we're using sports terminology. In 2005, we helped negotiate the Bedford Public Schools labor contracts for their teachers and the administration. So that's things that we can do. A lot of the times, the union reps and the schools will use a neutral third party. A lot of times, they're using an arbitrator or, you know, a paid facilitator. A lot of our services are going to be lower cost. They're going to be subsidized services, and we have a floating fee scale based on wherewithal the parties.
So say the mediation results in one party paying the other $10,000. You get a cut of that?
No, we usually do a flat fee for the service. So once the agreement is drafted, both parties sign the agreement. If it's a court-related issue, we send the agreement to the court, because they're ultimately going to be enforcing that agreement and closing their case. But once the parties have their documents, then we'll send out the invoice once the service is complete.
So the court could say, and does, this is what happens, okay, this isn't we're not going to do this in the courtroom. You guys need to go to mediation. And so you can get assigned cases from the court?
Yeah, So we have a number of different ways that we're active with the court. We have the eviction diversion program for the Jackson District Court, Hillsdale District Court, Monroe District Court, Calhoun County, which is new to our service region in 2021, wants us to start implementing a system for them. But essentially, all of the landlord-tenant cases that are filed in those counties have pretrials attached to them now. So those pretrials are filtered through my agency. We provide a one-stop shop for the tenants and landlords to come in and talk about rental assistance with Community Action Agency, the Department of Health and Human Services, other services that might be available. We have legal services, and then the landlords and their representatives have space. We're doing this over Zoom, so we might be doing 60 or 70 cases in a day.
Oh my gosh.
But everybody gets to learn where everyone is at that time. Mm-hmm. So the tenants don't have to call and make 5 appointments to talk to 5 different people. They get access to those consultations right in that space, and then they get to make an informed decision with their landlord and create an action plan based on what they're eligible for, or develop a move-out timeline.
Wow.
And then those cases are dismissed, so there won't be a black mark of eviction on the tenant's long-term record.
You sent along a couple of photos, and I think these are locations where you've been able to educate people about your services. Is this?
Yeah, this is myself and our executive administrator, Christy Johnson, and we're out with the Stomp Out Suicide event, I believe from October 10th. This was right downtown at the Veritas Ballroom. So we try to become as active in our communities that we work and serve in as possible, to let everybody know the value of our service, the broad scope of services that we provide. We don't only mediate. We train people to problem solve. We train people to be better communicators. We help folks, we conflict coach. We can help people deal with conflict in a more healthy manner. And we do a lot of restorative practices and trauma-informed training in all of our for all of our mediators, along with professional development on every Friday.
And this is another one of those. It looks like, where are you, at Jacksbo or someplace?
This was, I'm trying to remember if I was even at this event. This might have been in Calhoun County at their elder care event in September.
Great. You told me before the show, Mark, that your services expanded 500%.
500%.
During the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, we were really lucky to be able to take advantage of community needs and court system needs. So in February of 2020, when the pandemic was labeled as such, the court system was really starting to struggle on how they're going to handle cases and keep everybody safe. We decided to start moving all of our in-person mediations. So like if you and I and Brandon were mediating, we would have done this in person up until 2020. So we transferred all of our services into the remote area. So we're doing them over Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever is most convenient. And by March, when the court system shut down, we were training everybody locally how to use Zoom, how to handle cases, and use the space remotely. So we were able to take advantage of the court system needs, and we're able to translate everything we did in person into the remote atmosphere very quickly. And then that opened us up for a lot of different services to offer that way. And we went from 870 cases in 2019 to 4,200 cases last year, and we're on pace to have about 4,700 this year.
Wow. All right, so I can see how landlord-tenant cases would have increased during the pandemic.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that you typically work on?
Sure. In Lenawee and Monroe counties, we have contracts with the probate court to provide services, elder care services. So if a family is coming to the court system and they don't have an action plan ready for a family with an aging adult, and there's some kind of triggering event, such as a stroke, early onset dementia, some kind of health problem, we're handed these cases to help that family determine who's going to take on that role of guardian, talk about conservatorship, long-term family care, who's going to take on that parent where that parent's going to be placed if no one's able to take them in. So cases like that. We also facilitate abuse and neglect cases where we help facilitate the action plan for those parents and the placement for those kids, so the family unit can come back quicker, or in some circumstances, if that's not if that's just not an option, find the best placement to stabilize the life for that child, along with creating a service plan that'll be best to get the best outcomes for the parents so they can move on with their lives. We have statewide contracts for providing special education mediation and facilitation services. We do behavioral health mediation services. We're the local independent facilitator for Lifeways, which means we can help facilitate treatment plans for anyone coming into the system, or review systems, or review those plans on a yearly basis for those clients. We are the provider for the Michigan Agricultural Mediation Program, which is a statewide program under the USDA. So we're working with producers on watershed determinations, land use and zoning issues, family issues dealing with probate and estate issues, or crop rents or subsidies. We're very broad in the services that we can provide. Plus we can do parenting time, custody, divorce cases. We do small claims cases every day of the week. And we do restorative practice and peace circles in the community and in the school systems.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a mouthful. I'm pretty parched.
So you don't have to be an expert on all this stuff. You just have to be expert on bringing people together. You have to be an expert on people and relationships.
Yeah, you're going to become an expert in process, right? So every one of our mediators we have different backgrounds, we have unique experiences, we have unique perspectives. So we recruit and train all of our own people. So when we're looking for mediators that are interested in mediating within their county or within our service region, which is Calhoun and Monroe counties, we need open minds. We give trauma-informed, training experiences. Mm-hmm. We help people become mindful of where they are as a person, what their triggers are, what their biases are, become comfortable with their space, controlling a meeting, helping people learn how to negotiate, and really you're becoming a conduit for better communication for those two parties.
Well, it's great. We have those services here in Jackson, and if you want more information, or maybe you're interested in joining the team and helping, visit their website. Mark, good to see you.
Yeah, thank you, Bart.
Mark Stanley is the Executive Director of Southeastern Dispute Resolution Services.